Hello, everyone. Hi, it's Sean. I'm here with my co-host Matt, and welcome to the Leftovers podcast, the AARPG's talk show where we talk about stuff. There's been some changes, some very great changes in our lives. We uh, we changed our content. We had to kick back the Nuadan Chronicles. Our guest. Unfortunately, the guests couldn't make it due to some freaking hurricanes, basically. But anyway, they're going to catch us up next week, hopefully. Hopefully, everything goes well for them. We're going to get into what we've been talking about for the week and go on to our replacement topic. But as always, I want to remind everybody to, oh, somebody commented. Oh, it's Darcy. Hello, Darcy. Hello, everyone, and Darcy. I gotta post that. And see, I don't even put it up on the thread. She won. She won tonight, or he won. Got to make sure I do that right. Like, follow, subscribe. God, there it goes. That was weird.
That's me,
like,
man. That's me.
You did that?
I'm pushing the buttons behind the scene. Yeah.
Oh, I was doing it. So like, follow, subscribe. You can join us on our location at the AARPGs.com cast. I am not crapping myself. I'm deleting that. That was last week. If you like any of our merch or anything else. And at this point, I'll give it a chance because I screwed that up for Matt last week. So you go into his comments and concerns as he likes to open up with things.
Well, so no comments and concerns. Our only thing is we hope that our guests are safe. We were all set to to talk about their game that they successfully kickstarted. But in communication, they reached out and said, look, they are in the path of this hurricane.
Yeah.
I have some friends who live in Florida. They're the same kind of thing. And so just being out of abundance of safety, they were like, well, we're not sure if we're going to lose power. So I was like, okay, let's just move everything to the right. And so we'll pick this up. So that means for the next couple of weeks, we'll do our character creation, game intro, and then we'll have our test game. I did get a little insight into what the game's going to be about. And without giving any spoilers, I basically said that it was great that we picked the cast members that we did to be on this, because otherwise I think that if we had some of our less reputable cast members playing, they would have just leaned into all the bad stuff, and but
Wait a minute. I am more reputable. That's true. Actually,
that's what I'm saying. You and Malcolm are probably our more reputable amongst all of us, and I'll even point that finger at me.
Oh yeah, you're not as reputable. No.
Yeah, definitely. It's.
I have a code.
Every week, you do. There will be balance, right?
There will be balance.
So,
you're right.
So definitely, if you get a chance to head over to YouTube after you watch this, like, subscribe, follow. If you feel like you're weighed down by too much money, you can hit thanks or check out our store. We keep adding some new items. We've got a notebook and a different glass, but you can just go straight there. We've got this cool, if it loads, site where you can see all the different wonderful things that we've got for sale. Other than that, basically just wanted to say thanks to everybody. We've had a really, really good month. We've had a lot of people who have tuned into this show, people who have watched our stuff, and so it's been really great. I just wanted to say thank you.
Yeah, Ben and Adam, we're going to take credit for it later, but that's okay.
Well, yeah,
which is fine.
We're getting really close to, they talk about setting milestones, right?
Yeah.
And
okay.
so everybody's got you got to kind of set your own milestones.
Yeah, that's true.
And so for us, I think for at least for the YouTube side of the house, we're really getting close to the next kind of what I would call milestone for fun is that we are probably by the end of this month or early in October are going to hit 75,000 views on YouTube.
That's crazy.
Which blows my mind.
That's crazy. I never thought that.
Yeah, and so again, thanks to everybody who tunes in. Thanks to everybody who listens, watches, downloads. wakes up in the morning, puts on our channel on loop, and goes to work.
Okay. That's Nathan.
I leave it on for the dog.
Oh,
sometimes.
my freaking God. Look at this clown.
Oh, look who that is.
This person I just showed, and thank you for the congratulations, Darcy, because Darcy's an actual fan. This fellow here, just some sort of some Jerseyite that just gets on there.
Well, you know, the thing that's funny is that people, it's like when I was gone for a year, right? Like it probably took a long time before that even showed up in the show.
Yeah.
In the episode we just released, Kupo, so the guy who just posted, Anthony's still in the episode.
Oh, he's still going. I know. He's going to be going for another 6 months. Then everybody's going to wonder where he went. He's going to be back playing with us like, hey, guys, I haven't heard myself on the podcast. Like, dude, that was when you were doing your work thing, remember? You know, and we're not saying that Anthony is tied to any connections in any sort of illicit things, but, you know, I'm just saying, if you hear about some big strikes in the Middle East or some stuff going on,
There's going to be some big strikes in Jersey, maybe
okay.
right, local. So if you guys don't know, so Anthony has voiced probably one of our most iconic characters in any of our shows. And if you haven't listened to our Twilight 2000, I would highly recommend going and getting your fill of Blanco Phantasma. And so
hello. I can't see. I haven't heard him in a while, so I can't do his voice as good as I used to. Hello, it's I, Blanco Phantasma. And Isabel, oh sweet Isabel, her bosom, Axel.
Come on. Right. So we have a running gag that Kupo makes the characters that the rest of us want to play, and that's what happens. Like if he misses a week, like everyone's like everyone wants to play Blanco or wants to play Gromarsh or wants to play the asparagus guy.
Oh yeah.
From Battle Lords.
Mind. God, I just tipped my tongue. His character was great as I will use my mind to get. I just used to try and come up with voices. I am a terrible voice actor, but I try. But Tony would come up with characters, and so Anthony, and he would agree if he was on this, he wouldn't even know sometimes what the game was still going on. He would just jump in and he would play. I played them better than you. No, that's not true. One time, just to put it this way, we were playing Battle Lords, and what the heck was this guy's name? But he had a plant creature, and me and Tyr played him.
DeSantis de Floridian.
DeSantis de Floridian, I with my mind. And DeSantis de Floridian was gone for a day, so what we had to play him. It was a key part. So me and Tyr played him, and Tyr knew the rules, so I said, I, DeSanto de Floridian, will use the powers of my mind to line. And Tyr would jump in, and then he'd take over. And we played the whole episode that way. And people we just rolled into it. But Anthony brings up the characters, so then it goes into like when you're playing a game and your characters, you know, it's what you could not know. And Tony, you know, that's like the rest of us, did not know what the hell was going on. But he played the character so well. It makes up for it if you just have a good character. Everybody will help you play it. So that's what I learned. God dang it. Does this work again?
Someone's blowing you up.
I don't know. Well, I don't got a message, so it must have been that important. And it's not my boss. So that's the important thing.
There we go.
But,
so what have you been up to this week, Sean?
So this is what I've been up to, everything. So I have a 13-year-old son. He has scouts. He has other things going on. My wife's in education. She's been working a couple long days at the beginning of the school year. I have a job. Unfortunately, that was a hoot to listen to. Thank you, Darcy. Take that banner down, please. Yeah, there we go. That was a hoot to listen to. Thank you. But I have to answer this call. If you'll take it away, it's my job.
Oh, my. Okay, work calls, real life. Don't you hate that when that gets in the way? All right. So, well, I guess since I can't ask Sean what he's done for the rest of this week, we'll just slip in. So I don't know if anybody got a chance. I've got kids too, and I got the opportunity to be the chaperone driver, Uber driver, whatever, for a bunch of them to go and see the new Transformers movie. And so I was a little off topic for TTRPGs, but I don't know if anybody has had the chance to see the new Transformers 1. I know for me being an old dude, it's like I have made it my mission. I had to sit both the kids down and make them watch the 1980s movie, the original movie, because I'm like, that's sort of the gold standard, more than the live action ones for me. So that's kind of been my my geeky endeavor.
I'm
was
back.
going to see. There we go. I was just saying that my geeky endeavor this weekend was taking the host of kids to go see Transformers 1.
Now my son
after making them watch the 1980s movie.
Yeah, you got to do that. Now, but basically, and today was my wedding anniversary of 15 years married to my lovely wife. Of course, when you have a teenage son and everything, life and busy, and she was working till 7:30, we exchanged gifts and we have Malcolm, and we love each other very much. We have a good marriage, and I'm very happy for that. She completes me, and I'm going to add another person that completes us all, Malcolm. Hello, Malcolm.
I'm glad I missed whatever that was.
I was talking about my wedding anniversary. You hate my wife?
I do not hate your wife.
See, Tony even wants me
13-year-old boys.
Well, I just want to
What? No, that's my son, you sick bastard.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you, Malcolm. I'll share that you shared the happiness of our being married. Yeah, I notice you're looking at your time like my marriage is about to end. Is there something?
No. I'm just waiting for reciprocation. That's all.
No. I wish you no ill will. I unlike you, I am not a spiteful person.
You wish you well as well.
Yeah.
No, well as well.
I love that. Like, I hope you keep breathing.
I hope you keep breathing. I hope that
only a year after you.
I hope you don't wake up and I hope you wake up one day and your hair's all falling out and you look like a old wrinkly baby. I just really hope all these things never happen.
I don't think it's gonna.
Well, how about we pick up the subtle?
Thank you, Darcy.
Thank you.
Somebody
thank you, Darcy, for picking up on the subtle hint.
Yeah.
Not you, Malcolm and Tim. Their anniversary also.
You do realize that we were married literally a year and a day after you.
Yeah, but you know what? It's the day that counts. So tomorrow you get your anniversary thing.
No. I mean,
today is our day.
I'm sorry, no.
It's one day off, right?
No, we were married. Ours was yesterday.
Oh, it was the day before. Oh shit! I'm sorry, I'm off. I thought it was the day after because I remember when we went to your
No, I realized it was somebody
wedding.
else.
When we went to your wedding, we were marveling how close it was. It was a day off because me and Kirsten talked about that. Well, congratulations, belated. Is old and go ahead, Matt. I'm sorry.
This segment brought to you by old people.
Yeah, who can't remember shit.
You were married during the time. There was this time, and I was going to Shelbyville.
Yeah. So 15's a bit. It's it's no big different than 14. So apparently, so.
I'm sure 15. Our 15 is going to be amazing.
I was at both. I want my money back. So Anthony, you know as well as me and Malcolm that when you're married, you have no money.
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
And have a child.
How did you do that?
So,
what are we talking about tonight here on
the AARPG? Well, Malcolm, our guest, unfortunately, due to the hurricane, can't make it.
It says cast. What do you mean guest? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, so we had a guest. So you're now the guest. Ta-da. No, we are going to go off with some topics. Matt came up with some good things. One of the things we're going to talk about, here, a happy belated anniversary to you, Malcolm, from Darcy.
Well, thank you so much, Darcy.
One of the things we were going to talk about that Matt had brought up, and while I was, as I was dealing with work stuff before we got on, it was going into how, like, what TV shows we would like transported into like a game setting. Like, people do Star Trek and Star Wars. That we know about Star Trek and Star Wars. We know about Robotech, which is a cartoon, but you can use that.
Pretty simple.
Yeah. So and so that. And and it doesn't have to be Free League because Free League makes all the games right now. They're doing all the
games.
And we want to open this up too for anyone who's on the line too. So if you want to post it in there, if you've got a favorite sci-fi or fantasy TV show or some sort of show that, and maybe it doesn't have to just be sci-fi or fantasy. Your favorite like TV show.
Yeah, it could be a Western.
Like to see a game company make an IP for, and what system would that be? I guess Malcolm's ready to answer.
Okay.
So
for me, I am not certain if someone's done it. I actually have done zero research to check because I thought if it was, what the heck is going on with my camera? Whatever. I figured I would hear about it if someone did a really good job at it. I'm sure someone has made a game and it just wasn't very good. I don't really know. I'll let the comments let me know as far as that. It's Stargate.
Oh yeah, Stargate.
I would
I have
love
not seen anything
a
in
Stargate
Stargate.
RPG game because it's
Interesting.
basically
That
small units,
seems-
small party units going in, and you have different places to go each time. So it's a different sort of adventure. I mean, of course, you can base on the show and have them tied together, so you're following up. So you're SG3 or whatever.
Well,
Because they're
apparently
always
there
happening
is.
to someone,
So there, yeah, I
There
so
apparently
I,
there is. It's the first I've seen of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just hopped on to Drive Through RPG
Mhm.
and I typed in Stargate, and yeah, there is a Stargate SG1 role playing game by Alderac Entertainment Group.
Looks like it was made in 2021 though.
Yeah, so it does. I don't know what kind of system they used, but yeah, that's.
Yeah, that would be the one I would like to
But
have.
that's
Like,
it though. There's
yeah,
there's
I
no
expected there. That was one thing I thought. As long as it's been on, why hasn't there been like multiple on this IP making this game?
And then you figured, with Matt
It has
and
such a
Nathan
big,
going
huge-
to these gaming things, they would have seen it too. So that's
Yeah,
weird. Right?
exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, they may have made a game, but I haven't. It's not really been on anybody's radar. And
no, I don't think it is, and I don't know who the Alderac Entertainment Group is. So I'm just not doesn't mean anything. I'm not familiar with them. They
I'll have to look
updated
into them now.
this in 2013 was the last time, and so there's
Oh,
like a
wow.
Stargate 1, and there's a Stargate 1 First Steps, which I think might be like a like a module or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's all. There's really, because then it very quickly moves into other systems that might have the word Stargate in it. So
yeah, so that's for me. It's like it'd be Stargate. Someone to do a solid Stargate one. Basically, you could literally have, all the various factions written out, various heroes, various locations. So if you want to start with Stargate Atlantis or the SG1 or some other team, or even come up with their own thing. There's a sufficient enough history in the series. I mean, it was over. Its first one was on for 10 years. Plus, you had and I mean, like, come on, why not? And you still have all the tactical bases you'd use in an armed military that could be used and applied. So a lot of crunchiness that'll be fun there. And then you have like different worlds where you literally can make different things happen in each one.
Yeah.
So it can be a different experience each time, and you can slowly build up plots or counter plots and so forth. And there's also just traveling between worlds, not using even the Stargate. So there's a lot of potential there. But I was just really surprised that no one said we need to do a Stargate game. We can do this. We have a lot of the data sitting out there. A lot of these IPs have been, which are still owned by big companies, but their overall extended sort of like merchandising is pretty limited, and they might be willing to venture into this area now, and like no one has picked that up. So Stargate would be one of mine. Yeah.
that's an interesting choice, because I gotta say it's weird how like there's so much out there that as much stuff as I've consumed, like sci-fi, fantasy, all that, like there are gaps, right? There are gaps in my geekdom, right? And Stargate is one of them. Love the movie. I've watched
Really?
it a zillion times. I have never watched. I think James gave me like a bunch of the discs. I just have never watched.
Watch
I've
the
seen,
show,
like,
really?
I am surprised because I think
my God.
that would be a game that I think that would be right up your alley to a certain. Not like-
Who are we,
love-
Malcolm,
love
who
the
are we
setting.
speaking to? Who are we
That's
speaking
true.
to?
Good point. But it was.
Well, I've never
it would
watched
be-
Doctor Who either. So
Oh yeah,
That's-
you were
that's-
heresy, high heresy.
I know.
That's I mean, and yeah, that's understandable. But like with Stargate, I mean, I think that you would enjoy it.
Yeah, I think you would.
I mean, understand it
So
has
it's
it has a
in
while
my
to develop.
retirement.
Yeah,
It's in my
So if you
retirement
did,
bucket
if
list.
you did Twilight, it's all like you're taking U.S. like military stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going into alien worlds, and sometimes you fight better, sometimes you fight worse, sometimes you got to outthink your opponent.
sometimes it's just completely not even related to it, or something.
Yeah, sometimes it's just a disease.
exploration,
Sometimes,
or I mean, yeah, it's really variety. So it's pretty much all the variety you had in Star Trek, I guess, in a way. But you
In
literally
some
just
sense.
have modern military trying to do it with a small team operation team because you
and you got politics involved too.
and of
toward
course
the,
there's, of course there is global as well as
So-
interstellar.
Yep.
would you go like, so from a system, would you go something hard, a little more like, would you try to do it, let's go to the
Crunchy?
extreme, hardcore?
Would I go a little
Would be
crunchy or would
something
I go
like
with-
would-
Hey, 40K.
Well, really crunchy, something like Battle Lords, or even more
Oh,
like a
no.
Aliens.
No.
Or would you go something like, maybe, I hate to use the word softer, would you go soft? Like something like Savage, or like, what would you think?
You mean as
Would
far as
this
crunchy is what you think you're looking for? As far as the amount of actual complication in the rules that make, like for instance, like the munitions, how many shells am I firing? What type of gun am I firing? What equipment am I taking with me? What is its overall radius? Can I do suppressive fire? All those kind of tactical things, you think, or something?
He wants. It's got to be a little
would
crunchy.
would you right? That's, I guess that's the thing, is because to me, I don't mind a game that's not crunchy or is crunchy, as long as it fits the feel. So for you, Stargate,
For me, Stargate, I unfortunately have fallen into a bit of a system problem. So with Stargate, I think I mean, it would literally. There's two systems which both are at the, I wouldn't say at extreme, but are in the same pool, but at very different ends of that same crunchy pool. Like I would probably like GURPS would be good as far as the crunchiest tactical thing I would use, but it doesn't really fit the complete feel of of Stargate. There's a lot of fantastical technologies. GURPS has those, so it could work. But I think I probably would go with Savage Worlds too, because of the some of the fun the characters actually have in the course of the thing. I mean, yeah, there's some very serious situations. They definitely deal with some deadly ones. There's also just sort of just the quirky kind of funness of the character that I think that Savage Worlds would pull it off. And there's probably another number of systems that could do that. Like I would not. One system I wouldn't probably use would be like the Free League Alien base, using a Free League Aliens as basis, because it doesn't have the right mechanics to convey Stargate. It has the perfect mechanics for conveying aliens, just like their other games are really sort of tailored to convey the feeling of that particular world. The One Ring has a very specific, very Tolkien-esque feel to its Middle Earth game, as opposed to just generic fantasy.
gotcha.
So
Right.
I wouldn't use probably Free League unless Free League says we're going to do Stargate, and then then that system would even probably be very different than what we see in Aliens or what we see in I forgot the name of the space game we were playing.
You
we were
forgot?
we were divers.
Which one?
We were diving down.
Coriolis.
It was Coriolis, right?
Coriolis.
Coriolis, yeah.
Because those games have specific feels that are specific themes and sort of mechanics that make the feel of the game a certain way. Like literally, we played that game. It did feel as if we were doing a deep sea dive. We had to be maintaining our resources and so that's not a part of really the Stargate world. So I think that I think that Free League would not be the company. Would not be the. Would not be if they did it. It'd be very. They'd very be paying attention to and hearing to make the game feel the same. But I probably wouldn't choose it necessarily off the bat. It probably would be like probably I'd probably go with Savage Worlds.
All right.
I think that's a good choice. I agree because remember Stargate is not The Walking Dead,
Yeah.
right? It's not Aliens. It's not this lethality. It doesn't have that lethality at all. It's
Or is that darkness? I mean,
Yeah, that darkness
It is
to
a very. It is a very. I mean, it is an optimistic view of the protagonist and even the military, even the United States military in that situation, in that scenario.
Yeah, it's not
they are. It's really like they almost sort of. The military in the SG-1 is the military we see in every single commercial.
Yeah, it's the most idealistic version you can get.
It's idealistic version.
Yeah,
they are sticking to the core values of only military engagement, but also of the values of a particular
I concur.
decency and so forth. Because they end up being.
Can you imagine? Yeah. Can you imagine if it was like Aliens and like the fucking type of organization? Oh my God, man, it'd be It'd be horrible. It'd be like Colonel.
And
Major Carter just killed the scientist.
Yeah, and I think it would work kind of like, and to be honest, I think it would kind of work like that world if it was just like, if you take the brutality of reality sometimes too much into it. And I think it needs to be separate so we can enjoy the idea that even though we're not the most technologically advanced, group in this story in Stargate, we are the ones who are really going to make the sort of, in general, will make, and hopefully will make the right decisions, even decisions
Yep.
that other species that were far more advanced in the galaxy failed to make.
Yeah,
to help
and
them
they
get
did,
there.
and they did make mistakes, but it was it was leaned more toward a Star Trek type of thing.
Yeah.
Not quite
Not
than
quite,
it
but they
did to
made
not to aliens. And I, Matt, did you have anything to add on that? Because I got something I want to put out. So this is a game.
I'm good.
This is niche, by the way. I'm going to say something that's very niche, and there's people that have seen it and loved it, and know when they get excited. And other people are like, "What are you talking about?" And it was a show on Sci-Fi called Farscape.
Oh my God, that would be another
And
fantastic game.
And it could be very dark at times, and it could have a little horror aspect of it. And it was very, and there were consequences. There was a continued storyline, sort of like Babylon 5. It had a continued storyline, and characters' decisions would come back to haunt them. And there was a running theme, and the show had different races, different cultures. They took some risk with it. And the protagonist is John Crichton, a scientist from Earth. He's a NASA pilot, and he's testing this aircraft to get sucked away in a wormhole. And then he ends up in the middle of a battle with these large group called the Peacekeepers, and they have a backstory that's amazing. That's not from what they are, and then he gets involved in because he has unlocked and effectively not just a transportation but a weapon. That's the long game. Yes, Darcy, hell yes, that was a great show.
It was a great show, and I really.
Yeah, and they kept it alive. It had so much of a following. When they canceled it, they ended up ending it with a movie. They allowed them to make a movie, but the characters were in depth, and there was some darkness to it. Like some of the protagonists became antagonists. They became villains,
and vice versa. Well,
yeah, and it's just
you had
like really,
It was,
I can't do it justice. And if you get a chance to watch it, for the love of God, watch it. The first episode's a little weird, but then as you get into it, you start getting
it. The series, it's really good.
And there's a detail. There's really one detail I want to give everybody. When it comes down to the differences in the races, there's an episode they go, John, humans' eyes aren't as good. That's what I'll say. Everybody's like, can't you read that? He sees nothing on this tablet. The other races can read it because the humans' eyes aren't good. But then later, the other characters, the aliens, are having problem with something, and he's walking around feeling fine. They get that detailed into the characters, like certain things affect people differently.
Like
I just want to put that out.
And vision and
which I've never seen.
Actually tapping into that of how it affects it, which I thought was really good. Like literally, unless it's a very very super important plot point, it comes up, but usually it never does. And that show just it was just a natural fact of life that the world wasn't built for everybody.
No, it wasn't.
And how you encountered it, because oh, do you smell that? And we're like, we don't smell that. But the thing is, like, there are thousands of things we don't see and smell in our own world that happen because we just don't see in the ultraviolet.
There's things we don't want to smell in this world.
There's a lot of things we don't want to smell, but or see, yeah. And so it sort of was very interesting. The show, that's just a small aspect of it, Tim. But I mean, Matt, but this show is that's
right, Darcy.
It's really good. And I was, it was really well written, and it was a great show to watch from start to finish. And I actually, I don't think there's a game system for it. As a matter of fact,
funny you say that.
I don't think
company.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Are you freaking serious?
The same company. Now,
they buy the IPs from Sci-Fi Channel or something.
I don't know.
I swear to God.
So literally the same company, this AEG, has a Farscape book. Now I am looking, and I don't want they've got they've got a few ratings for it, like the PDF I guess is based off of an actual scan, and so there's a few, but again it's one book. It's based off on it's the D20 system, right? So it's based off of the I guess would be like D&D 3.0, kind of where we got D20 modern, D20 sci-fi. And back then that was one of those licenses that you could create off of, and there's a lot of stuff. Like I have a really cool game called Dawning Star or something like that. It's just cool sci-fi. It's all based on the D20 system, but it looks like they did them, but then they like threw a book out, and then that's it, like one book. There's not like any other supplements, and I would agree with that. It's funny, if you hadn't said that, Sean, I probably would have said that too, and I didn't know that until I just pulled up the Stargate thing.
Son of a gun.
If you haven't watched Farscape, you should watch it because, and I have a couple of things for me is because it's a Jim Henson production, with the exception of spaceships, and I don't even know, maybe even, so the aliens are aliens and the creatures, there's a lot of use of puppetry and stuff like that. So things take up real space. And like you guys
sort of like physical guys, and they're not necessarily limited to human anatomy, which I love.
Right. So, and what you guys were just talking about, I agree. The show was written good sci-fi. Often really isn't about the lasers and the space. You know what I mean? It really does come because even like original Star Trek dealt with like social issues, and I think that Farscape was written at a very personal level. Right,
Yeah.
you really will become attached to these characters, and you will feel their relationships and their power struggles and their ups and downs will feel very real, like you're watching like a drama. It's what made Battlestar Galactica so that remake of Battlestar Galactica
another
was
good
so
show.
good. It was
a
drama in space.
So the thing is, what game system we put with that, though?
Well, the thing is, that's the thing I was going to tell you. My friend Matt Brady, rest his soul, he did run a Farscape game. And we
Really? What are you running with?
We did it in GURPS.
Oh, okay, I can see
well,
that.
at the time we were doing a lot of GURPS, so it was also just for him. And it was and the thing is, it was the catching the nature of that game, which is most important for him. So like right now, I couldn't bring up the stats for that right now, but I do remember him going very deep as far as the characters and everything else, and it was a really interesting game. And we played, a sort of parallel sort of version of the universe, in that same universe as they were. And it was really, really cool to do that. And it was
with that type of system, if you're building something from scratch, it gives you a lot of latitude. That because any
it does
game
give
with
you a lot
points
and you had to do a lot of latitude, and that's the thing. It gives you a lot of latitude to do that. And we weren't. The thing is, because we weren't super concerned with complete balance. Like that's my obsession in that system, but not his. We got the characters right despite of whatever the points were, and the world went on. And we had a really good story, much like the series. We were concerned about the story we were going to tell and play, and that we had a great time. As far as doing it now and you wanting to have for just anybody to play and it to be balanced, I don't know which system you would use.
I know. There's so much, right? We should use Vampire.
I think you could use a multiple. It would really depend on what your group's comfortable with. Like you could easily just go, you could be Savage, it could be GURPS. You could use D20, right?
Yeah,
the D20 system is actually, I mean, for people who play 5e, the 3.0 isn't so different in the basic mechanics that you'd be completely lost. I mean, you roll a D20. I mean,
I'm like, it's okay to learn a new system. It's okay.
It is okay, right?
Just not too many.
So I think that you could tailor it, pretty much any, not I won't say any system you wanted, but you could get crazy and use even like one of the Star Wars systems.
Yeah, you could use them.
Whatever you want to do. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, it's like I'd say it's Firefly 20 years early.
Mm-hmm. And what was so funny is that literally, Matt, is like when that show was canceled, a lot of those actors ended up being picked up and going to Stargate and doing a season or two there.
Yeah.
Because
the main guy, did he become like a major character for a while?
He became a major character.
He replaced O'Neill because that actor wanted to move on and do other things, like sort of semi-retire, for lack of better words.
Yeah. So it was really. I do worry. I mean, as far as like Stargate, they probably will now have another restart or reboot in the works, but whatever. But I really think the original series was really a lot of fun, and so was Atlantis.
That's hard to beat that.
And that's the thing, is it just really branched off really well, and those characters are really great. And
I agree. I agree, and but those two games right there,
those two
Stargate and Farscape. Though apparently somebody did, but they didn't do a good job marketing it because But you actually tried with the late great Matt Brady actually created a game, which it's a good universe to play in.
It was a really good universe to play in, and I think the other ones have already been done. Like Like I would like The Expanse was one, but they have a game system out, and I was looking at
Yeah,
that. I'm not,
Expanse
and
is a
that's
great
really new.
show.
And
Jesus.
that was a great show to fantastic books. And I think that the company that's done the role playing game, I think has done a good job. I just haven't played it yet. It just looks really nice, and I was like, this looks like a good solid system. And hopefully they'll be able to expand, including whatever they need to as far as the other books, as well as the world that he has created. As far as so I'm not really worried about that one. I'm not worried about Expanse. I'm sure it'll be fine. But like, yeah, this. I think other than that, it would I think Babylon 5 had one as well, had a game system as well
It
that did
did.
several
It had
supplements.
a role-playing game and it had a miniatures called Gropos,
Yes, that's I do
which
recall.
I actually have a whole bunch of in my
I
basement
bet you do.
unpacked. I have a
Sweet.
ton of Gropos miniatures, and they're
So
because they were like the mini miniatures. So
yeah,
like
they were tiny.
you'd have like they were like the tiny scale, so like little groups of tanks, little groups of infantry. Um,
So
or if
yeah,
my never done, never used stuff.
I guess the other I don't know. I don't really know if I know it's a. I guess because it's. I wouldn't say it was a. I don't think it's. I have played it as a game. I don't know if it needs its own game system necessarily, but it's very similar. But it was Sliders, the old show Sliders,
Oh, that was Wong.
I was thinking about
where you did
that.
parallel dimensions that you were traveling to as you're trying to figure your way back home. Very, but we had a lot of that. Like just like what's his name, Quantum Leap, where you're stuck and you have to find your way back. But that's based on the whole entire Lost in Space and Time Tunnel, same thing. But basically, you're going to multiple, different, parallel dimensions, trying to get home and encountering yourselves or different parts or different regimes or different worlds and that kind of thing. So it was another exploratory game that could be varied every time. That that allowed ordinary people to run around and do stuff, in a very extraordinary circumstances. So I don't know if it needs a whole game system for it, but it could. But it's more of a nostalgic remembering of it. But the structure is very easy to work. It's very easy to build a game off that, of that. You can either So I mean, and as far as what game system, it could vary on how you want the feel of it. I mean, like I'll be perfectly honest. Like GURPS literally starts off presenting you with their starter books is a half the book is basically a time jumping parallel dimension game. So if we want to do Sliders, we could just pretty much use that template and go. It's pretty easy. And if you want to do Time Tunnel, it's already there. So that was the thing I was thinking of. It wasn't the thing I was really. It wasn't like Stargate, which I have my heart set, but I would love to see that as a role playing game.
I think you could also use either if you could go back, you could use D20 Modern, because D20 Modern has those. It's one thing if people haven't played D20 Modern or the follow on to it, the Everyday Heroes, which I have not played. I've read the book, but we played a lot of D20 Modern. It's an interesting system because you don't play with. There are archetypes like classes, more traditional classes that you can eventually play, but you basically the starting classes that you mix and match are how your character deals with stuff in the world. So you're a smart, a tough, a fast, right? And you could take multiple, like you could multi-class and have build it, but it's more about how does your character deal with obstacles? Do they bash them down? Do they outwit them? Do they sneak around? And so it's an interesting way to build regular people.
And with that system, you could easily make it integrated with other D20 systems to simulate your alternate worlds, I guess.
Right, and that's a nice thing too, because they created a D20 space. There's a D20 Arcana that goes with Modern, right? So you could literally almost. So if your world had magic,
then you just
something
use that.
weird or a monster,
it's already it's already done. It's already sketched after you could do it. And I think that's the thing is like that's why I said I'm not sure it needs its own game system. I mean, it's its own game, it's its own book, but as far as there were plenty of game systems that you could replicate that one. That's why I was like, I wasn't going to really mention it anyway. Not to mention, I think a good portion of people don't know what that show ever was because it's way beyond their time. So I'm like,
I can tell you, they're getting a good education on some great shows that they should go check out.
Yes, they are.
Because these are some really, really well made
This
Too
back
far
turns
from-
away and
turns away
talks
from the
away
mic.
I
from
know.
us.
I'm so sorry. I was just telling someone today I had terrible mic etiquette, but I'm trying to look up a book.
So, but yeah, like those. I mean, and the funniest thing is there's a lot of those shows that we just mentioned, like Babylon 5 and Stargate and Farscape, and were a lot of those sort of shows that came out of what was the old Sci-Fi Channel. And a lot of like not only Sci-Fi Channel, but a lot of science fiction and fantasy shows that came out around that same time. That became almost, I wouldn't say foundational, but really were hallmark series that were able to give their full breadth only because they were on networks that were allowed to carry them the full time, which is what Sci-Fi Channel was sort of doing at that time. Was like, we're going to create a place where a sci-fi series can just run, because you had like things like Space Above and Beyond, which came out, which suffered from being different time slots and being put after Sunday night or Friday night football. It was just terrible.
That one you could use the alien rules for.
Yeah, that one you could use the alien rules for, and I think that one, that's one of those shows.
I
that,
agree with that.
That's one of those shows. Something like, it's very nice. I'd really love to see. I'm like, here's a show you could remake, please. Just
Yeah.
so, and we won't hate it. Just remake it. Just update it and go, because I didn't have enough time to get all of its stories together, and it was a bit convoluted at times. But I thought the heart was in the right place, but it couldn't get its audience even because it kept moving around, and it was just bad program. If the network you're on doesn't believe in you, you're not going to go anywhere. So that was a lot of problems with a lot of shows. But yeah, that was definitely one you would definitely use. You just go ahead and use aliens.
Yeah. So one thing we picked up, I think this was either last year or whatever. But if you don't have a game system for something, right, and you want to play a certain story, television show, whatever, one thing you might want to do. I was reading through this, and Chaosium just has their finalists for creating.
They did come out with that. Yes,
and so they have this basic role-playing game book, and it is just basically, it's all of the systems, right? It's every kind of social character building, magic, technology, and it of course nothing's going to have everything,
but it has
if you
enough
really
to get you
had-
into it.
It does. It has enough that if there's like this one thing you loved and it never had a game system for it, or you didn't want to go buy a whole bunch, then this is a good, something like this is a good way to start, right? So this is not they didn't ask me to plug this or anything. I just, but I was reading through it. It's pretty cool.
And that's how I feel about just GURPS. I'm like, if there's a game and you map it out, they will have a series of rules that you can recreate it, and you can. And the thing is, I think we often get with GURPS the problem. I think people get really crunchy with it. When truth, it's always, you can always add more crunch, always add more crunch, always more crunch. You can always just reduce the amount you put in there, but it does have mechanics for giving you the tone of almost any game you could think of if you want to, which is nice. But it does take some work, I think, is the thing. And I think with a lot of systems like, but like the reason I was thinking, like, for instance, Slider doesn't need a book compared to Stargate, is because
Stargate you need a book.
Stargate has a history.
Yeah.
It has a methodology. It has
We need it for Farscape too.
It has some tech stuff. It has some technical things about that universe that are important to its overall feel and story that need to be fully laid out. Stargate has, Farscape has a timeline, has particular factions with particular histories, and it's very important as far as how they delve and how they deal with one another, because that was like even a point of conflict. Like literally, you had different cultures and how they were interacting or how they've dealt with one another and where they've come from, almost in the same sense. Like people like it's the complexity, or if not more so, than is you found in like Star Trek or found in Star Wars. It's that same level. It just hasn't had as much of expansion because of the amount of overall people they're able to reach with their various novels and books, but it's still a very dense and very complex and very colorful world to play in. They would require its own system so that stuff can be explored. That's both of those things,
Yeah.
Fantasy-wise, I'm at a, I don't know.
Well, there's just so much fantasy that's already been. We've played so many fantasy games that
But I'm trying to think like of a fantasy series. I don't really have one.
What about Johnny Quest?
Beastmaster.
Johnny Quest.
Savage
Definitely,
Worlds.
definitely Savage Worlds. Johnny Quest.
Oh, that's
is
Savage Worlds all the way.
Johnny Quest
Yeah.
is definitely a Savage
Yeah.
Worlds game.
Yeah.
Action
Oh, yeah.
cards and all. It's
Yep.
just-
Yep.
I mean, adventure cards and all. I mean, it's just
Yeah, you got all
that
those
is
little.
that is that. that is
I'd
definitely-
play Race Bandit in a heartbeat. That's my. It was in my life, right? So not having maybe a traditional. You have to latch onto your male figures, right? Race Bannon, who was then later replaced by Magnum PI.
Well, I played Brock Sampson. I played Adventure Brothers version.
That is another game. That is another game. Like literally, that we were planning on. We were planning that my local group. We were planning on doing
Adventure Brothers.
just like I think it was like after the pandemic or just before the pandemic. Just before the pandemic was going to be like 80s detective thing. Like basically, it was like if you it was like basically Simon and Simon, Emma, Magnum PI, any type of show was kind of be the basis. But I think like that was definitely another Savage World game. It's just like I mean, you could run a Magnum PI and Simon, which is all in the same universe game.
Yes, you could.
Then with heart to heart, it was like literally you could do the whole run.
Oh my gosh!
I never watched that, but I remember.
I mean, and
Really?
it was
That's the
a-
70s. I
what was
didn't
his
get
name?
into it.
What was his name? It was like Judge. It was like something in the God. It was like the judge had like a little Corvette, and the felon he had living in his house had this like other car. Like it was like basically we had some weird shows in the 80s. Good God.
Yes, late 70s, early
Late 70s,
80s.
ladies. Yeah.
Yeah,
We played Dallas. Yeah, there we go.
I wouldn't play that.
A team would also be
A-Team.
Savage Worlds.
Yeah, A-Team is definitely Savage World.
Yeah, 18 you could roll right into.
Yeah. So I mean, literally, you could do
well-
every 80s, 70s, late 70s. I mean, 70s to 80s action show could be done in one whole game. As
There
a
we
matter of
go.
fact, there was this one
Hard
guy,
Castle and McCormick.
Castle McCormick. That's what it
That's
was.
it. The good
Thank
job.
you, Darcy.
Yep.
I was like,
And BJ and the Bear, a truck driving guy doing good deeds.
Which really is. I'm like, we were obsessed with freaking 18-wheelers.
Yes,
What the hell was
truckers.
that?
Let's start from Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah, smoke. There are people. I mean, I don't know. It was just we had some. We needed. We needed.
We got it, Darcy.
We were just bad, but yeah, Newcastle and McCormick, Airwolf, all of that.
Airwolf, that was
Oh
the
my
stuff.
gosh.
I'm gonna fly around in my chopper and do good. Like
You know,
FAA didn't have a problem with that.
It was I guess it was the 90s. I don't know.
Squid
When
Burger.
was Sequest?
Love, Expanse, and
God.
Stargate. We talked about that earlier. If you didn't miss it, never gotten a Farscape. Well, you missed a good show. Well, it is like I said, niche Squid Burger. So I just want to comment on our comments.
And that's,
So it is Squid Burger. I'm sorry, Squid. It is a niche show. I said that when I opened up about Farscape. It is. So it's one of those unique things. Like there's people that don't like the Expanse for some reason. I don't know why.
yeah. Does anybody recall that show besides this?
Which
What
one?
show?
Sequest.
Sequest. Yes, that silly show.
Silly.
Yes, that was a silly show. That was
I
like
do
trying to do
remember
Star Trek
Sequest.
underwater.
They tried very hard to do Star Trek underwater.
Yeah.
Wasn't that Stargate Atlantis?
Nope.
No.
That's
That was
that's Stargate with a underwater.
That once again, Matt is
underwater-
saying heresy. He doesn't know what he's talking
no,
about.
No,
I
Stargate
don't.
Atlantis,
I do not.
no. But Sequest was basically a Star Trek underwater with speaking dolphins and genetically.
Yeah, it was
modified
very.
soldiers.
I watched another banger. Yes, it was another banger.
It was amazing. Yeah.
It was like I watched a few episodes. I'm like, this is just silly to me.
I watched it all the way through because I'm like, I needed some sci-fi in my life.
There was
I
a
was
period of dryness
that was-
between
that was-
like the end of Star
I was
Trek.
like, wherever I can get it, I'll get it.
There's a period between the end of Star Trek and there was nothing really, really good. And
I
then
don't know
it.
I don't know if Stargate was at the end of Star Trek. I think it
No,
was-
like the original
Trek
series.
Conquest.
The original series ended.
Oh yeah.
So do you do Sequest via Mothership? You could do Sequest via Mothership. It's
Well-
very simple. I think it would work.
I don't know. I mean,
We've done a Mothership game. It's not
Yeah,
that
but-
you got a lot of leeway with it.
Sequest is more of like you would do a. Goodness. I don't know.
Don't even start down that rabbit hole. We're stopping that right now. Just no, but so there was a gap between the original series and then like Battlestar Galactica came eventually on along,
Well, that was
and
Brit.
that was around after Star Wars, the original
Yeah,
series,
right.
and then
NBA,
they started muttering. Then the hope of a new Star Wars Trek series started in the mid '80s, and then when Star Trek: The Next Generation started, that's when the genesis of all the really new sci-fi shows started, I believe. That's my philosophy. That's what
Some
I believe.
shows
Besides Doctor Who, that was it. That was out there.
There was a little, yeah, it was random stuff.
Yeah, random, not, you know.
They didn't,
And,
they
you know,
didn't,
you never, those of you who are younger will not remember the dark ages of sci-fi.
well, I
When
mean,
we had nothing good. When it was all Smurfs.
We had
Everything was Smurfs.
some good.
No, it was all Smurfs.
We had
It was
some
all
all-
horrible,
we had
blue
some
little
good, we had
people.
some all right, but like I said, most of it was like if you don't, people didn't have any trust in the fact that a Star Trek, the science fiction series could carry it, so they often
Yeah,
would
you know.
just let it just die.
I
Poor
know.
mistake.
Everything was, what was the 80s? Everything was like Miami Vice and
Oh,
cops
what was-
and drugs and.
Yeah, so I wouldn't necessarily want to see. I mean, like as far as like any police dramas, only because the work it takes to actually create a case. Because I'm
I
serious.
don't know. Yeah, real police work
it's-
is not.
it's
It's
so-
also very after the adventures. The excitement is dry.
The excitement is dry, or you have to, and literally, if you want to be horribly cruel and say, let's make it a little bit more realistic, you have
no,
multiple
you don't.
cases. You have multiple cases going on at the same time, and you can't solve.
Yeah.
You're not. It's just not. I mean, I think that Blade Runner does a really good job of what I want in a police procedure investigation. And
Well, he's not really a blade. He's not really a cop. He's
Exactly.
a bounty hunter. Yeah, exactly.
you work for the police department, but it's it's just basically.
But you are solving. So, all right, I'll throw a weird one out for you.
We do
Stupid
solve.
about
I
this.
mean,
Somebody asked me.
having played it, you do
So,
solve crimes.
using the Blade Runner system, and I because I do like this idea of the cases, and you have time flow that's going on, right? And there's all these multiple spots, and you actually encourage you to split up.
Mhm.
I'm thinking a Scooby Doo port. Scooby Doo.
It would definitely be good for any type of private eye investigative, including Scooby Doo, I guess.
Who doesn't want to play a Scooby Doo RPG? Especially, have you seen those weird
Only if I could play
Scooby-Doo
the villain.
videos online?
Oh yeah, the ones like where they bitch put that booty in it, like when they make them talk dirty. No, it's different.
What are you talking about?
Hey,
I don't
not
think-
those.
And
That's
meanwhile-
funny. It's funny
and
as
I'm
shit,
moving off
though.
a tangent, and we're like,
Suddenly, tears on the show.
No, it shows up in my Facebook feed. It's hilarious. Like, woman, what
No,
are you
there,
doing?
There is this series. I've seen them on YouTube. There's this. They're like this. I don't know who animated them, but it's this like horrific like anime. It's like Scooby. They basically start questioning like, well, wait a minute, why can he talk? And so every time that happens, he resets time, and he murders them all.
Yes, I've seen that one.
Have you seen it, Malcolm? You should
It's real
you can
dark.
look
It's like,
those up.
and it
Yeah,
flashes between that animation and the traditional. And Thelma's always the one that seems to fix. She sees the things, and then
Yeah, she figures.
then the
it out,
dog's
like-
face gets real serious and goes, "Why did you have to like this creepily, like in a Malcolm S form of a villain?"
why did
Yes.
you ask that? You could have lived your
have to
lives.
ask that. Yeah.
Some questions can just remain forever beyond.
What do you mean? What do you mean, Scooby? What are you gonna do to me, Scooby? Where'd you get that knife from? No.
I love how Sean went straight to Scooby porn. So anyone
It's
who's
not
listening-
porn. It's just comedy. It's taking the characters and they put them in adult situations, talking smack to each other. It's hilarious.
So
Well,
yes,
didn't they
definitely
redo a Scooby? Isn't there a new Scooby cartoon that's
I
like
heard
died
that was-
horrible.
I haven't
death.
watched it.
It died a horrible death.
I heard it was.
Did it?
horrible,
Yeah.
but I was not gonna even. I wasn't even going there. But yeah, you could use for some police investigating levels.
You gotta.
Some CSI, or if you're doing private
Well,
investigator.
fucking don't bring that shit into it. That's why I never play a cop thing because it's all like
a
unless
fiction.
it's like Hollywood cop stuff, like when it's all
Hollywood
exciting. Yeah,
It's
that's
Hollywood.
fine.
You'd have to make a Hollywood cop show. You cannot do. So anyway, Blade Runner has a good mechanic.
taking Sean to play a realistic cop game is like taking Lee Bacon to a war movie.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Like, I don't, so because Sean, right? His
I don't
whole
like that
career-
comparison. Lee was never in the military.
No, he wasn't, but he.
He
I would
loves.
say
He's a
he did.
military
I
geek.
watched some movie with
I'm not
him,
shitting on
and
Lee.
he
I'm
was-
just saying. Yeah.
No. We watched
He
some
will
movie
point out
together,
the
and he was
details that are
bitching
wrong.
because the artillery that
Was
they were
wrong.
showing was wrong for that army at that
yeah.
time in that war.
Yeah,
And
I
I was like,
can't.
oh my god, Lee, just watch the movie.
Now
Yeah,
my
so-
sister-in-law's a doctor. She can't watch doctor shows because she loses her shit. Like that's completely
But you
wrong.
can't do that. You don't.
Yes.
So yeah. So if you're doing the sensational police story or just doing private investigators or something like that, yeah, the free league mechanic for Blade Runner will work at certain aspects. That will not be the case with their Replicant Rebellion. That's completely different. It's gonna have
Right.
that's gonna have a different feel. So that, but definitely the procedures, the having, what resources you can use in a particular case, how long it takes the case to get information from someone, how you're utilizing your time, where you're spending your resources, where you're setting up their team to do stuff. That all stuff really works really well as far as the mechanic and so forth. So I would definitely do that. But yet I don't see it needing a game system. I don't see it needing a rule book to itself to play. Like, oh, what about I guess-
So let's see. What about some of our listeners? Anybody out there? We got.
Yeah, anybody want to throw anything out
Darcy,
there?
Any TV show that you've watched that you'd love to play or no matter how weird or crazy, like you could.
She said,
like, could
Judge
you?
Dredd.
Well, yeah. Could
When
you
they
do
said
like
Judge Dredd. What's wrong
could
with
you?
tonight? I'm off.
Could you
I'm
do
off,
like a
sorry.
Mork Borg fantasy
Costume Judge
island?
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to think of
And Red Dwarf or Lex. There we
How about
go.
you think-
Red Dwarf.
Very good. Red Dwarf.
Oh
Very
my
good.
Gosh.
Lex is another niche show, though.
Lex-
Yeah.
have a
Lex was a fun show. It reminded me. It was about as close as you were going to get. I don't know. I want to say heavy metal, but like the movie Heavy Metal. It had like
the
I don't
movie,
know. It was
yeah.
a weird.
It's one of those
It
shows
had a
that
very comic book vibe, which I'm sure it was a comic book, probably.
I don't know. It was a British show. It could probably just be there and be and breathe and
Red Dwarf could be Savage Worlds because it's so, Lex, though, is, I don't even know how to.
I don't even know how to categorize Lex. I'm just like,
Use the Chuck Tingle system. Or-
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like the characters make the wrong choice, except the one protagonist who's like a dead guy, sort of. So, it's so. I found it so enjoyable playing it. Watching it's one thing. Trying to play it, I don't even know how you would play in that type of universe because it's so oddball, right?
Yeah,
It's like one of them oddball games. It would be an oddball game. It'd be like we do it for a month because I
I do
think
have
we'd
a
all.
couple of GMs. I think they would run a game like that, but
I think we'd all end up like a Cthulhu game, losing our minds. Because
Yeah.
it's
That's
that's
that
good.
happening.
That's good. Red Dwarf and Lex are good, Darcy. That was good because I forgot we've all seen Red Dwarf. Red Dwarf was a
love
great
And
show.
obviously, people would love to see like I think it has its own system. It'd be like Supernatural, or
Supernatural, but
or,
that could be
or-
based off the games. We had a game called Supernatural, which was Palladium.
You
which
could
is,
use Beyond
mean-
the Supernatural.
Yeah.
beyond the Supernatural.
Here we go.
Fringe. Yeah.
Fringe TV,
falls-
yeah.
Friends.
Yep.
Oh, such a
Yeah,
good
yeah.
show.
See, now we're hitting some stride
That's
here.
next. That's next on my introduction to my
you-
kid. Right now, I'm doing Person of Interest, and she's hooked.
That's right, Squid.
I love Perfect Person of Interest, but Fringe is going to be the next one. And then she's with my wife. She's watching. In fact, they were watching it tonight. She's introduced her to Supernatural, so we're trying to bring her up to get that good geek layer, a good pop. Geek
There's so
layer
many little
built
shows.
up.
Just to put a different show out there. It's called Chaos. I believe it's on Netflix, and and it's about basically the Greek gods and their downfall, but set in like a sort of modern setting. And
Okay.
what's his name? The actor, God
Jeff
dang it.
Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum plays Zeus.
I think I've
And he
seen
does an
some-
amazing job of playing Zeus, and it's very just remember the Greek gods are like us, and they treat humanity like crap. And if you look at all the great plays of that era, and
Yes,
this
that was
so
in the-
sort of
that-
follows that theme to some
that
extent.
brings me to another story I would love to see as a role playing game that I'd be interested to do would be American Gods.
Oh, that would ooh.
As a matter of fact, when I ran my supernatural, I wouldn't call it supernatural, my supernatural game, or my not supernatural, my modern, my fantasy, I guess I could call it. Is it called urban fantasy? My urban fantasy game called Runcible Spoon. I brought a lot of, as far as the deities were depicted very much like they were, or brought in the game very much like they were in American Gods, because I really loved the mechanic of how that sort of worked, or their power levels, and how they were sort of vying to make their to irk out their existence in our modern world. So I thought it was very interesting. It's not exactly, obviously, but that would be an interesting game world to do. Would be American Gods, Yeah, because and just have like a great forward or good sort of plotting out by Neil Gaiman to do it, and it'd be fantastic. I mean, because it would tie all those different worlds together.
So there is a game called Divinity X
Warehouse 13
out there
would be good. Warehouse
that's
13
based
would be
on the Apocalypse system, which
Yes.
I'm not familiar with.
Mhm.
And that one, it sounds like you can play hero. Oh, wait, here it is. Okay, yeah, Divinity X is a wild yet realistic look at superheroes in our modern world and how they would integrate in our society, as well as how they would change society, as well as humanity in themselves. Taking cues from the darkly realistic superhero show on Amazon Prime, The Boys, coupled with a dash of the coming
game.
war secret history of American Gods by Neil Gaiman. So that's
that would be interesting because The Boys is
Divinity
pretty
X.
brutal. That's a freaking bloodfest right there.
it's a little hard to watch sometimes. I'm not caught up. So
No, I'm not.
just because I have to literally prepare myself
Me too.
to watch it because it's so awful.
Yeah.
And it's
Awful as in what happens to people in the thing. It's pretty.
I really just want to
it's-
asteroid to strike the planet.
its acting is fine. I'm okay with all the acting.
Oh, the
It's
acting's
it's hard.
fantastic.
It's hard to
Great.
watch.
Yeah, it's
Sorry,
a people at their what's it like? It's a movie called Feast. It's a horror movie, and in the movie, all the protagonists, at the beginning, the hero gets killed, right, and everybody else is the worst type of person. They make all the wrong choices, and you can tell, and they all suffer the consequences. And in the movie, it's a horror movie, and there's these little creatures just taking over. And in one of the example, in the one scene, the ladies, somebody's running to have a baby. To get away, they throw the baby up in the air for the creatures to catch. That's the type of movie it is. And I watched a bit of it, and I'm like, wow, somebody just made a really dark movie. It was ahead of its time in being dark. But it was also funny because you got to watch these people making bad choices get their comeuppance. So that was the best
But
part.
it's always,
That's the best part about movies like that.
I don't think I run that kind of a game, but yeah.
No, you haven't. Though,
I would.
how'd you like that
Very
sword? The sword I sent you from was it the Dungeon Soup? If you get
that was-
if you like
was
to watch
hilarious.
Dungeon Soup, I'm going to plug them because they do little shorts on like fantasy D&D games, and they have a guy who's basically, I'll say, the hero who goes after the bad guys.
Dude, Darg.
It's basically
Oh,
dark.
is it
He's
that
basically
guy?
dark, but he goes after these guys, and they say all this stuff. They lose spectacularly.
They do a lot of
I don't want
monologuing.
to, and the stuff they do, and he just outsmarts them, and then they get their comeuppance, and you feel sorry for them. That's how bad it is. And these are evil characters. In the end, you're like, oh my god, you feel sorry for them. Anywho, we are past the hour, and
Beyond the time.
yeah, beyond our time. And some of us, unfortunately, have to work tomorrow.
Yes.
But I would like to summarize. Malcolm, you have anything you would like to add?
Regardless of what the show is, in most cases, if you have a decent pool of players and you have enough, drive, you can find a system in a way that's going to be able to manifest it in a game system that you like. And just thing to remember is that you want to test the essence of your show and just find the system that works best for you. They can do that. That's all.
Essence. Matt, how about you?
Get the
I just wanted to thank everybody who tuned in tonight. I know we had to make a shift. I appreciate everybody's flexibility, and like I said, we hope that everybody in the path of that hurricane. Stay
Yes.
safe, and again, we'll be back. If everything, everyone's got power and everything is going great. Because I don't know, that storm is heading towards you, isn't it, Malcolm?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, we'll get
Sort of.
sort of.
We'll see. He's far enough
see.
inland.
We're far
He's
enough
far enough
inland. We're just
Yeah.
we're getting a lot of rain.
Rain.
A lot of moisture.
And
A lot of
probably
moisture.
flooding,
Very damp.
So I would also like to thank everybody and for joining us as always, and hope you thank you, Darcy, for your comment. And everybody else who comes back and later watches our show. I find we have later a lot of views and people watch. I think our last episode got up to 44 within a few days. If I'm not mistaken, and don't check that, Matt. I don't want to be
He's
wrong.
checking
I
it.
like feeling
Check
good
it all
about
the
that.
time.
But anyway, I appreciate it, and I'm glad you enjoy our content, and we look forward to making more content. Remember, next week will be a little different. We're going to try something, creating a game, and we're going to briefly, for a couple episodes, play a game instead of doing interviews, just to mix it up. We're trying to do different things here and just make this entertaining to everybody. And making up game, and while we play, we're going to be having conversations about the system. So when we are actually playing the game, one of the pieces is discussing toward the end of the session how we liked the interplay, and because that's obviously what the people who are going to be playing with us, they're going to be highlighting some of the coolness of those systems. At Scooby-Dooish Ministry, yeah, I missed that comment. I'm sorry about that. I don't know what that. Yeah, that's cool. All right. With that being said, I wish you all the best. If you're down in the South and going to get some rain, I hope everything goes well for you. And we're in fall. Enjoy those changing leaves, and have a happy Halloween, I guess, because we're in Halloween month. All right. Take care.
All right, bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right. Well, good night, everybody.
Good. Hey, I'm getting ahead of myself. I like holidays. Bye. Bye, y'all.